So I became a Christian when I was in junior high school. I believe it was my 8th grade year. Just to give you some background, up till that point in my life, I was kind of a little brat of a kid. When I was a little kid, I'd wake up in the morning and run around the kitchen table making fun of my older brother. I had an older brother and a younger brother. And my parents and my older brother would be sitting at the kitchen table, and I'd run around calling my older brother names. That was the delightful child I was. And through the end of elementary school, I was concerned with people's approval. I wanted to be one of the cool kids, and so I did and said things to try to be cool. But then when I got to junior high, God did something interesting. All the kids that I thought were cool, that I was friends with, that I wanted their approval, I was separated from all of them. I was in different classes, different lunchtime, all different stuff, so I didn't see them anymore. I wasn't with the kids I thought were cool anymore. And so the kids that I was forced to hang out with in my mind weren't as cool as me. I thought I was better than them, and I was pretty mean to them. I remember one time, one kid in particular, we had a lot of classes together, and after one class, and our lockers were near each other, and we were on our way to a class, and he was following me, and I turned around and said to him, stop following me, because I didn't think he made me look bad or whatever. So I was very concerned with my image and people's approval. And strangely, I wanted the approval of people I approved, which doesn't make sense. Weird circle there. But then, my story is closely tied in with the story of my older brother. He was 2 years older than me. When he was in 4th grade, he wrote a letter to our mom saying he didn't want to live anymore. So by the time I was in junior high, he was a freshman in high school. By that point in his life, he was very depressed. He was failing all of his classes. He was a bully at school, and he had obsessive compulsive disorder. He would build models, and he spent all of his time in his bedroom, and he'd build the same model over and over and over again, trying to build it perfectly. When he did come out of his bedroom, he and I would get in fights. Until one day, he came out of his bedroom, and I started trying to pick a fight with him, and he said to me, "That's all right, Phil, I forgive you." And that completely floored me. I don't really think I'd ever heard those words before in my life to that point. And over the next couple weeks, I started to realize that Nate, as a freshman in high school, was a completely different person. Totally changed. He became a joyful, loving guy. He was respectful and obedient of our parents. Wasn't obsessive compulsive anymore. Just a new person. And he told me it was all because of Jesus. And he started to tell me about how Jesus had died for my sins, and how he rose again, and how through faith in him I could be saved. And I saw the change that happened in Nate, and I wanted that too. The first sin that the Lord really pointed out to me in my life was how cruel I was, how prideful I was, thinking I was better than the people I was hanging out with at school, and how cruel I was to them. And so putting my trust in Christ, repenting first and foremost of that sin, of seeing that in my life, and instead loving those people, and realizing I'm worse than anybody. And there's nobody, coolness was not a factor anymore. Being accepted by Christ is what mattered. And then from that point on, Nate and I became best friends, got really involved in church and the youth group. Nate's now a pastor of a church in Indiana. And I've grown my walk with Christ just deepening more and more, just really coming to the point of walking in faith, trusting in him in life, stepping out into things, Steph and I, my wife Stephanie, stepping out into things that we know we can't handle on our own, that we can't do it without God's help, just doing that in faith and seeing him provide and strengthen us. And just realizing that still, even now, my thoughts are tainted, by sin. So his word trumps all. So just trusting his word above my thoughts, above my feelings, just relying totally on him and his word, even when my thoughts aren't quite lining up with his word, or my feelings, it doesn't feel right, trusting his word above and beyond that. So now to this point, when I was asked to consider being considered to be an elder, I was pretty surprised by that. But since then, I've had time to think through it and pray about it, and it's definitely something I want to pursue. It wasn't something I had been pursuing at all, but love the Lord and love His people, and definitely something I want to follow His call.